Jokes. We got jokes. Okay. Hello, everyone. All right. Happy Friday. We're going to jump in. We have a theme today. Again. 2 themes in a row? Girl. Who are we? Stream music. Link in the description. This is Samantha Dragonati. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause. 1, 2, 3. Pause this music so we can jump in because we're doing a themed stream today, and then I'm hopping off because I have to pre-record. I'm doing more midwives. So I'm recording and streaming every day, and it's just like I need to, I can't do 10-hour streams and record content, So we're going to get through today's stream, jump into it. Though I do want to announce on Monday for members only streams, we're doing a little bit something different. Or not so different because we do it on this channel, which is in theme for today. We try to hold ourselves accountable. So I've gotten enough feedback now on this video that I did here a year ago about this lady, where people feel like I was pretty mean in the comments about this lady. And I think that's fair. I've got enough comments now that either people are misunderstanding me or I could have communicated better. I have a feeling it's over the one comment I made about like how I described her, where my autistic friends were like, I get it, but other people were like, that's kind of mean. So, okay, let's talk about it because I'm not trying to be mean out here unless I'm trying to be mean out here, but I'm certainly not trying to be mean to a lady like this. You know what I mean? This girl's a victim of her childhood. She had trauma growing up. Like, I'm not trying to come for people like her. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about it because again, we're not perfect people. There will be times, especially as streamers or as content creators, where we say things that maybe were better said to friends who know us in our full context rather than to strangers on the internet. And then, of course, as you guys know, I'm on this journey of trying to get out of streamer language because streamer language has allowed us for so many years to be misogynistic, to be racist, to be really bigoted in our language. And it's given us permission because it, quote, feels so honest, but it really just isn't as helpful as public figures, especially public figures that are, quote, trying to change the world for the better. And sometimes I think we do have to examine ourselves and struggle coming to the realization that human beings just like aren't that great. We're pretty great, but we're not like that great. And so there's so much in ourselves that we have to deconstruct. So come join me on Monday when we go over this video together, maybe not the whole thing, but the parts that people were really upset about. And then let's see if I could have said it better. Let's see if I should take the video down. As you guys know, as a content creator, and we're going to go over some of my old content today, just like one video, I do take down content that as a content creator, I don't like keeping videos of mine up that I feel like hurt people or push a narrative that I wouldn't want pushed or promote people that I've collabed with in the past that I don't want to promote anymore. And I know that's very not typical. I think typically content creators like to keep all their content up because they get money off of it, or it makes people feel like they're not running away from their past. But I just think that it would be worse for me as a person who is trying not to add worse things to the world, like to think that somebody might come across my video and see a bad take and be like, yes, Brittany, I agree with you. Like, I don't agree with that anymore. If you're new to my content, anything 6 months ago or older is probably out of date. If you're confused about a take I've had in the past, ask me in a present time to update or to say if I still believe something, because I think we all grow and hopefully grow in a direction of discernment and wisdom. But if you've seen a take of mine that you're confused by, ask me for clarification so I can clarify for you in real time. Because I certainly have said things over the last 10 years of content creation that I certainly don't agree with now, right? And I'm growing in real time in the public sphere. And so I just want to make sure that you know you have permission to ask me those clarifying questions. Now, this subject today, which I think coincides with all of that, honestly, is about misogyny and the word misogynist and how people get very defensive of it. And it's interesting because already when I posted this stream, I was letting people know it was coming. I got 2 comments already. And when I checked your channel activity on my streams, YouTube says neither of you have commented before on my stream. So I'm curious why these 2 commenters came out of nowhere before the stream even went live to leave a comment. Right? Like, what about this topic makes people want to react to something they've maybe never reacted to before? Maybe YouTube's wrong. Maybe you have commented on my channel before and I've never noticed you. And, I just think it's interesting that before my stream even went live, people were commenting because of the subject. And that's not typical. I don't usually have a lot of people commenting beforehand. Right? Now, with that said, the reason, okay, I wanted to talk about this is because a video came on my feed, one of the Hasan fan channels, and I didn't know what it was about. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And I clicked on it, and I was shocked to see what Ethan Klein was up to, because I'm not on Twitter, right? You can follow me on Blue Sky and stuff, but I don't post on social media like that. I just post to encourage people to, come on in. I just post to encourage people to come on in and see the content, but I don't like post like my daily thoughts or something. So I'm not on Twitter like that, but this Hasan video made me aware of some of the stuff that's happening on the internet with people. So I want to go through this content with you, and I want to go through it. Now, I already see chat asking me, do I have a new take on XYZ? You can't just ask me, do I have a new take on XYZ? You have to say, do you have a new take from this is my impression of you? Do you have a different take? Because it's too general of a question. I see it right now. I can't even answer this question when it will derail today's topic. So maybe I can answer it at the end, but I don't know what you're asking me. So make sure when you ask me a question, you actually know what you're asking me, because I certainly don't know what that means. Right? Like, I don't know what you're referring to, as I've commented on certain subjects a million times. So I don't know what that means, right? Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this. Chad says, I've never interacted with your political content, but the phrasing of the title has me tempted. I wanted to wait for you to explore more in depth before I said anything substantive. Do you think misogyny is political? Or are you just saying that misogyny to me is philosophical, and it's ethical and moral, and impacts political stuff. So I'm curious about that thought coming from you too, because I don't know about that. Chet says they both have commented before in previous streams. It says for me, okay, great. Love that. I was curious. I don't know. You guys have to remember, I don't always pay attention to usernames as well. So, okay. Thank you for that. Okay. It is political in the sense that racism is political. Okay. I don't think racism or misogyny is just political. I think it's human, but let's talk about it today. Look at this clip from Hasan. We're not going to watch the whole thing, about what Ethan Klein has been up to, and we'll talk about it.
It doesn't matter, because
why is the audio so low? Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. Okay.
Point is not to actually win the point is not to actually win any sort of like damages. The point is to damage the opposition by putting them under a mountain of paperwork that's incredibly costly. I assume that's part of the reason why he hasn't tried some shit like this with me, and he's just going after all these other people who are much smaller content creators who don't have the same financial freedom to be able to do so. So he basically said, oh, you guys said I was misogynistic. Well, guess what? I'm suing a black man now. And then turned around and apparently released this. He said, I understand my announcement that I'm going to sue Sean the Black was upsetting to some. Therefore, in an act of superhuman grace, I will make you this offer. If the Snark subreddit, Taylor Lorenz, and Cat 10 Barge all apologize for calling me a misogynist, I will consider dropping the lawsuit against Sean. This offer expires on Sunday at 11:59 p.m.
Pause. I understand that my announcement that I'm going to sue Sean DeBlack, I'm not actually sure who that is, was upsetting to some, because I don't know that username, but maybe I'll know the face. Therefore, in an act of superhuman grace, I will make you this offer. If the Snark subreddit and Taylor Lorenz,
I thought this
Taylor Lorenz. Okay, who is Taylor Lorenz? Who is Taylor Lorenz? This is Taylor Lorenz.
Should the U.S. government be allowed to deport someone over a meme?
Taylor Lorenz. Her? So, to be clear, if these women or people apologize for calling Ethan a misogynist, he won't sue a black man. P.S. This video was really good. I watched it this morning about the JD Vance meme. Sir, chat says the black guy in the iDubbbz video ? That was Sean DeBlack. Oh, okay. I don't really know that person outside of that video. So, okay. Okay, now. Why is this the case? Why is this happening? Now, I Googled for funsies, men or people getting defensive over misogyny. And right away, look at this Reddit post from 4 years ago. Why do people get defensive when suggesting that something might be sexist or misogynistic? And it's, just a bunch of articles and people talking about basically sharing stories about their life and and why they feel like the people in their life will say something, and then when you point it out as misogynistic, they're like, what? Now let's be clear. Since we're human and we're flawed, we might miscategorize. And this is my special interest, is I like properly categorizing things. So I want to always make sure, and I won't always be perfect at it, that I am as close to the right categorization as possible. So even though I don't believe in objective morality or that we have access to it, what I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing as a person, because we do philosophy through pop culture here, is I'm trying to examine culture and properly categorize it. It's why I'm so stingent on making sure we don't call Ethan Klein crazy, like certifiably medically, because though Ethan Klein is activated and triggered by the internet and should go to therapy for it, he isn't in psychosis. And I think this is important because psychosis is a medical emergency in which the person doing the action, though accountable to an extent, isn't as accountable as Ethan Klein should be held to, given that he is not in psychosis. So you need to be able to hold Ethan Klein as accountable as you can, because he certainly isn't out of his mind. He is simply activated, which does warrant a trip to the therapist, in my opinion, but doesn't warrant a trip to, I don't want to say a psych ward, because that's not necessary for psychosis, but you know what I mean? A deeper care. More intense care. So I want to make sure that we understand that Ethan Klein being upset that people have the opinion that he's a misogynist to the point in which he's willing to not sue a content creator if people take it back is the issue we're running into. And this is the misogyny of it all. I understand that people who do not do deep analysis through a political or philosophical lens about humans as a species might not understand that all people born under patriarchy suffer from misogyny. I know this is deeply confusing for people because it's really hard to imagine that you are so deeply impacted by the culture around you, because in your own brain, you are so sure that you will have free will. You are so sure you are making decisions. You are so sure that you don't think of women this way. I think women are great. Ethan has made so much content arguing with red pillars about women and their choices. How could he ever be a misogynist, right? How could liberal men ever be misogynists? And this is why I say be careful of the liberal man, because at least conservatives are with their full chest being like, yeah, I think women should stay home, even though they don't like the word misogynist. A lot of the liberal men really suffer from being seen as misogynistic. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to give you an example of a woman engaging in internalized misogyny, in my opinion, and the way that we all do growing up, right? I certainly have engaged with internalized misogyny, internalized toxic masculinity, right? I'm married to a person who was assigned male at birth. I was assigned female at birth, and we don't adhere to gender rules in our household, in our marriage. And so because we're deconstructors, we fully are able to say to one another with like such good faith, hey, I think that might be misogynistic, or hey, I think that might be your toxic masculinity, or hey, I love you, but I think that's kind of like, that sounds like the patriarchy is working its way into this conversation, right? Like we can do this in such good faith because we don't believe we're without prejudice. We don't believe human beings can exist without prejudice. We think all people suffer from prejudice, which if not deconstructed can turn into bigotry. So we rely on each other to make sure that the other isn't ever falling into bigotry, because it's so easy to become a bigot. Like you think it's not easy. It is so easy to be bigoted. So I'm going to give this as an example, but I want to, again, just preface this with, I'm not like coming for anybody in any shape, way or form, but like, I'm not really trying to come for anybody. I'm just trying to point out that like, let's use real people to have real conversations, right? Okay. So this is Francesca, and Francesca, I struggle with her content because the bitchuation room in and of itself is a misogynistic brand, right? To call her brand the bitchuation room, to utilize a slur in the name of your content, a slur that is misogynistic, period, even if you're reclaiming it to an audience that I'm assuming is primarily male, I don't like it. Now, look, I have a primarily female audience, right? Excuse me. I have a primarily female audience, like 70% girls follow me on Instagram, on YouTube, and all that. I would like to see Francesca's analytics because I have a feeling it's men. And I have a feeling it's men because of the comment section of this picture. So cute picture, abolish ICE, we love it. And cute photo, she's saying she's on vacation, cute bikini photo, no big deal. I go into the comment section of this video and right away I'm like, ugh, gag. Okay, listen. And listen, I say this as a girl who does use the word bitch, and we can have conversations about whether or not we should use that word on stream in public. I absolutely am open to that conversation. By the time I reach 40, there's a pretty good chance I stop saying the word in public and I only say it in private because of the way misogynists are so prevalent online. But again, I do believe how you speak in private should be different than how you show up in the world. I do believe that because I think you don't know who you're interacting with in the world. And so when you say a joke you think is funny, but you've deconstructed, it's different than somebody who hasn't deconstructed who's making the same joke. Okay. So the comment section, hold on, girls. Let me take a little sip of water. I'm a little dehydrated. Okay. I mean this in the most respectful way possible. God damn. The replies to this comment on Francesca's post, okay? Not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous of Matt. I assume Matt is Francesca's partner. I said the same thing, but added girl to it. I didn't even know it was like that. Yes, she's hot. How did you not know? Yowza. She's definitely gorgeous. Oh shit, I didn't know Francesca was married to Matt Lip. He's the guy who coined the term Ziontology. Okay, that's interesting. Noted. Okay, wow, that's cute. Okay, simple. Holy crap, you are hot. The beautiful, fancy, pretty brown sister. I don't know about that. Okay. This one's kind of nice. Francesca in the wild again, looking naturally stunning. Nice hat, babe. Okay, that's kind of cute. Whatever. Francesca just turned to gooners. Our friend Tifa just turned to gooners. I think that's an insult, right? The thirst trapping is strong with you. We're grateful you're on the side of good. Matt is a lucky man. Okay. It's like, okay, wow, go easy on this old man. Almost gave me a heart attack with this hotness. It's like, okay. Okay. Enough said. Beautiful and smart. What a catch. It's like, okay. Damn it, Fran. There's not enough water in the world to quench me now. It's like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, okay. And then this guy is like, I'm here for the articles. The news has really changed. I remember when women used to dress professional. I guess they could start bikini stations instead of bikini baristas. It's like, okay. You know, normalize showing appreciation to women's beautiful forms while also real respect to them. Okay. Respectfully, yes. That's kind of nice. I don't mind that one so much. Let's see. I think that's it. Those are the ones that I thought were pretty funny. Is there anything else? Intelligence and looks. Oh, she fire. Okay. Damn, Franny, don't do that to us. Okay, whatever. The point is that there is the chat's like, what age do you think these commenters are? 30 to 60. All of these commenters sound like old men. It's like, I think, and I don't know if I'm just spoiled because 99% of the comments left on my posts are like very good. Like they're great. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is a sign to me that her audience is probably primarily male and they want to be able to objectify you and think you're smart. They want you to be the whole package. But that's the thing is like, there's a different thing in queer culture. In queer culture, when we uplift someone, we're like, yes, girl, yeah. It's supposed to be about what you offered, not about what we appreciate. Sometimes when I hear these comments, it sounds like they're saying, I appreciate you. Like sometimes I get comments on my Instagram where I'm like, this isn't about me, this is about you, and I don't need to hear it. But it's hard to know the difference. It's genuinely hard to know the difference and why it's misogynistic. It's like people who say, man, I'm bummed out you're married, Brittany. Why? They're trying to pay you a compliment, but the insult is that, damn, I wish you weren't married, as if you could then marry me. Versus just saying, like, even when you say like your husband's a lucky man, like, what are you saying? Like, what are you saying? I know what you think you're saying, but this is why they're going to get defensive when I'm like, this is kind of misogynistic. And they don't get it because they're not understanding. You're coming from the perspective of your desires, your wants, your needs. You're not saying, wow, look at the work you put into. Look at like, oh my God, I need to go to the gym. Or like, I love the comments from the girlies that are like, oh my God, Brittany, you motivate me to go to the gym. Or, oh my God, Brittany, like you're totally motivating me to love my body. It's like, that means I'm inspiring, which is beautiful. Right? But when you're saying, oh, I wish you weren't married, or, oh, your husband's a lucky man. Like, first of all, you know what I mean? What is gender? But it's like, this is the stuff that I think is hard for people to process. So when we go back to this video and Ethan Let me bring up the tweet again. And Ethan says, I understand my announcement that I'm going to sue Shonda Black was upsetting to some. Therefore, as an act of superhuman grace, I will make you this offer. If the snark subreddit, Taylor Lorenz, and Kat Tenbarge all apologize for calling me a misogynist, I will consider dropping the lawsuit. What? What? What is that? What? That is the most disgusting display of human behavior in terms of this context that I could think of. In this context, this is why people say eat the rich, right? What a horrible, horrible thing to say out loud with your full chest, that I will drop my lawsuit against somebody, but I need you to say I'm not a misogynist. Like, could you be more misogynistic than putting two women in a position to have to forego their opinion on you and your misogynistic behavior as a way to save a Black content creator from not being sued? Like, could you think of a more misogynistic thing to do? You know? Kind of crazy. Chad says, what is he being sued for? Well, I assume the content, by watching the content nuke or something, right? Because that's why Ethan's going after everybody. Okay.
Again, Sean, this offer expires on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I thought this was all about copyright litigation. What do you mean? So he's just dangling litigation against people, random people, because other people have hurt his feelings by correctly calling him a misogynist? How is this just legal?
Now, I'm sure some of you are saying, well, Brittany, isn't Hasan a misogynist? Is Hasan a man? Is Hasan Piker a man?
College is like doing one good thing, which is that, like, if you have these millionaire, billionaire, WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is, like, in some respects, you know, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like, taking these guys and putting them in a pen with one another is ultimately getting them away from the broader society. I'm not stating that it's a good thing that date rape is happening. I'm saying that
he's trying to be facetious, right? He's trying to prove a point, which is utilitarianism is the worst form of philosophical thought, right? Because it's at the expense of people, right? So, okay, I know he's apologized for this. I know he was saying he was trying to make a point, but this is why I'm trying to say, like, even the ones that are, all of us are misogynists under patriarchy. All of us struggle to deconstruct. All of us are at fault for making rape jokes, right? Even I've made rape jokes on the internet. Okay? It's not a rape joke existing in a vacuum. That's the problem. It's the rape joke existing online when trying to make a point. It's unnecessary. It's misogynistic. It's devaluing. It's undignified. We want to move away from it. We want to move away from it. And it will take time, right? I think it will take me another few years to really clean my vocabulary and really clean my presence online and try to be like a better version of myself, because I'm so impacted by my environment. That's why I stopped watching Hasan. That's why I stopped watching a lot of streamers, because their language is too misogynistic and I end up mimicking the behavior. Because listen, like, I can shoot the shit with anybody, but if I'm around you, I'm going to start talking like you. And I think it's partially the autism for sure, but it's like, it's how I've been since I was a child. And I know this because my mom always said, you can tell who Brittany's been hanging out with. She talks like people when she comes home. It's true that if I'm around people, I will you can always tell who I'm watching on the internet because I end up talking like them. I pick up their accents. I pick up their mannerisms. I know this about myself. So I know then that I have to hold myself accountable by only listening and watching certain things, so I don't end up bringing it to work, you know, because this is at the end of the day going to be seen by people who I might be bad, who might use Brittany's content to say, well, see, Brittany thinks this. It's like, I want to make it clear, like, I have opinions, but it's difficult if the wrong people are defending your opinion. Then you're kind of like, uh-oh. That's why I want Ethan to remember that the people who are defending him the most are the worst people on the internet. We were so compassionate and kind to Asmon, to Destiny, to Abba and Preach. Over the years, we have been so compassionate to these men. And I've been told by my audience, Brittany, they're misogynists. And I've said, yes, but I think they're working on it. And then we came to learn that they're not really working on it fast enough or at the rate that could help victims. And that's why, you know, we ultimately had to cut ties with that part of the internet, because as much as I wanted to believe that they could get better, they were just destructive at a rate that was insane and continue to be. They continue to all put out very misogynistic content, which is, you know, it is what it is. But I'm sure it would hurt their feelings to think of themselves as misogynists, but your feelings don't matter when the proof is in the pudding. And so Ethan might be, his feelings might be hurt that people think he's a misogynist, but that's kind of the point. Is like, why are you getting defensive? Why aren't you deconstructing? Right? And that's why I say, I know it's not being born male because my partner was born male. And I know for a fact we have a lot of conversations where when I say like, I think that might be misogynistic, my partner goes, okay, hold on, let me think about it. And when he goes, hey, I think that might be toxic masculinity, I go, hold on, you're right, let me think about it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm saying it because this. Because I was raised as a boy. I suffer from a lot of internalized toxic masculinity in that sense. Like, I definitely have to always deconstruct, even in communities where I think like, when we talk about like pick me bubbles, I think a lot of women are engaging in misogynistic behavior by calling and attacking women, by calling them pick me's. I also think there is a very objective educational way, objective in quotation marks, way to actually categorize people as a literal pick me. I do think pick me's exist. I just don't think every woman is a pick me because you don't like that she doesn't like your fave. The dilemma is, how do you know the difference? So what happens in these atheistic boy bubbles that I've noticed is just the reason I had to leave the bubble is, is they run, and this is, I'm going to call myself out right now to show you an old video of mine for a second. What we run into is a problem where we don't want to call out women. We don't not want to call out women because they're women. We want to make sure we're calling out women if they've acted badly, but we want to make sure we're not calling them out in a misogynistic way. And one of the things I have struggled with over the years is, how do I call out women without relying on misogyny to do it? How do I call out women without relying on that internalized toxic masculinity to do it? How do I call out women without mimicking the patriarchy? How do I call out women without relying on what I've been taught by my environment? So I've privated this video. This video is no longer on the internet. It's called Brittany, Simon, and Kidology Disagree About Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And Kidology and I, like, look, we're not close by any means, but I think of Kidology fondly. I think we've disagreed over the years. I'm much more progressive than Kidology, but Kidology was correct in calling out Johnny Depp as a possible predator before I was. I fell for the internet's movement of thinking Amber Heard was the bad guy. Now, again, when we observe people, it's not about taking sides. It's about seeing the situation for what it actually is. I think now that we've reviewed the case, now that we've gone back and reviewed the whole case, I think it is true that Amber Heard, though she has her own problems, was 100% victimized by Johnny Depp. And I got swept up with agreeing with the worst people on the internet that Johnny Depp was the victim and Amber Heard was the monster. And now that I've reviewed the case, I'm like, uh-oh, I was wrong. But look at this, Brittany. Having this opinion here. Look at her. So this is past Brittany.
She's got an energy to her, the way her face moves. Gross. I have so many. I've been really thinking about this. How there's not really like a black and white, all victims act this way. I hate that idea. But I feel like the way their energy is can tell me if they've really been through something. You know, when you meet someone, you're like, oh, you've been through something for sure. And then you meet other people and you're like, I can't tell, but it feels like you haven't been through something. Now, that feeling is going to be what we can recognize in people. So you might not have the skill to also recognize when people have been through something if it isn't similar to what you've been through. So do not mistake your inability to tell with a person's lack of a story. But also, Amber just has this energy that for me, I'm like, I don't believe you. Like, I just don't believe you. I didn't believe you when it first started. I don't believe you now. Now, I will say Johnny gives me the energy of somebody who's overall a really good person, but has definitely had toxicity within his life. Hold on, loud noises. Which would make sense because he's not only was a child in Hollywood, but did have an abusive background with his parent, with his mother. And so, like, I feel like a lot of this is I can be forgiving to people who grew up in toxic lifestyles and mimic that toxicity. but I can't be sympathetic or empathetic to people who are in denial that they are repeating patterns. Amber never admits she's a bad person, not even once. Johnny admits consistently that he has failings, and that makes me trust him more. It's like they say people who cuss are more trustworthy because they're honest. But the thing is that it's not the cussing that makes them more honest. It's just the idea that they'd be willing to break social faux pas that make you feel more comfortable with them. Because it's like, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm watching this stupid fucking show, the business proposal show. And literally he likes her because she breaks the social norms. And he says, I like her because she's honest. It's like there is a form of breaking social norms that is honesty and a form of it that's just bad manners. And finding out the difference is so key. It's like the difference between an activist who's like, I'm going to dress this way because I'm making a stance, and a person who's just like, hey, I just want to dress this way because this is who I am. One feels more authentic to us, while one feels performative, right?
Okay, now the chat says, oh, that's funny. You said the cussing thing the other day. Well, it's, but now I'm on the other side of it where I was miscategorizing. So this is President Brittany talking if you're not watching the screen. I was miscategorizing the situation because I wasn't deconstructing fast enough or quick enough in the moment. And now I think that's why I'm pretty lucky that I try not to do things trending too much, because I do think I need time to really think about a topic and talk about it, which sucks because as a content creator, you want to make content right away, right? This was in 2022, this video you guys just watched. But at the same time, I do need time to think about it. And that's why we go back and revisit my stuff. That's why we go back and revisit stuff, because I'm changing every few months. Like every few months, I am updating my beliefs, right? So I looked at this Brittany here and I remember what she was thinking. And I remember she was thinking, don't fall for the desire to assume all men are villains. I remember not wanting to fall for because that was the rhetoric around Johnny Depp. Oh, we always think men are the predators, but women can be predators too. But we were wrong about this case. Johnny Depp was the abuser. Like, we were wrong once again. And I really don't want to fall into this misandric belief that all men are abusers, because I know that's not factually true. Even though I do believe all men are misogynists that need to deconstruct under patriarchy. And these things are different. Just because you're misogynistic doesn't mean you're an abuser, but because you're misogynistic, you can end up finding the pipeline to abuse pretty quickly. Just like in the same way that your prejudice can lead to bigotry, you have to stop yourself, right? So I want to make sure that I'm always holding myself accountable and trying to figure it out and trying to say that, like, we just reviewed Sabrina Carpenter. I love Man Child as a song. The video was a little hard for me, but I think I like it more the more I watch it. But the album cover for this time and place seems a little inappropriate, but she's allowed to do what she wants to do. But again, I think the difference is like why you're doing what you're doing. If Sabrina's just a pop star, I really don't care. Like, I literally don't care. But if Sabrina was a feminist, intersectionalist, wanting to take down the misogyny of it all, then yeah, like, you can't do this album cover right now because you are not a free agent in the world. Just like I don't get to come on stream and be a free agent. Just like I look at Francesca and say, why are you calling it the Bitchuation Room? Just like I look at, what's that girl, what's that girl we just covered? Who has the F word in her podcast? Yeah, like, it's all well and good to say, like, I'm T.S. Madison. Thank you. Madison, it's all well and good to say I'm reclaiming a slur. But if you name your podcast that, don't you understand it gives permission for people to use the slur in a way that is different than rap music using the N-word? Because I know the white people are going to be like, oh, well, if rap music has the N-word, it's about how you show up in public, guys. This is about how we show up in public. We're not talking about what you do in the privacy of your home. We're talking about when you show up in public, when you are digestible, when you are consumable. That's what we're talking about. We are not talking about what you do in the privacy of your homes. We're talking about how you show up as a public figure. And I think that's important. How you show up is going to dictate, and people are allowed to look at your content and say, I don't like it, it's misogynistic. Ethan doesn't get that. You know what I mean? Ethan doesn't get, people are allowed to look at you and say, yeah, you're too misogynistic for me, I'm not going to watch. And Ethan's like, no, you're not allowed to have that opinion of me. Anyone can have any opinion they want of you, Ethan. And that's the craziness of it, right? That's the craziness of it, because he really believes people having an opinion of him. He's Trump. He's literally Trump. He's literally Trump. You know? How crazy is that? He's literally Trump. Okay, let's go back to this Hasan video for a second.
Extortion. This is like extortion through litigation. Yeah, this is the The last thing I'll say about this, but Ethan Klein is using me to force accomplished women journalists to grovel to him is ironically exactly the misogyny he claims is inaccurate in this very post. He presents a false choice. 1, grovel to him as he exerts the control he wants to feel over women. 2, deny him whatever gratification he gets from that narcissistic behavior and subsequently be blamed by him for a smaller creator being sued. I reject this choice, cue Ethan. And not even giving them the option for the women groveling to lose to other women from the lawsuit, carefully crafted to only humiliate and inconvenience women. Amazing. Is it legal misusing litigation like this? Guys, I don't think you understand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he has a ton of money. Okay? Until he is deprived of all of that money, he can just do this permanently. Okay? That's it. Like everyone, it's really interesting because like everyone understands that this is all completely ridiculous. Some people try to act as though there is a real purpose behind this. There's a real way to finally take down these copyright abusers, right?
Yeah, Chad says the fact that she apologized to challenge him to drop it, but he said it wasn't enough. He literally wants them to grovel. He's disgusting. Exactly. The fact that, so I guess that did happen. In this video, they talk about it, where like Ethan is never happy. He wants, he's so disgusting as a human being right now that I'm so like, whoa, like I don't even have the words for how deplorable of a person he is being. How absolutely vile of a person he is being right now. It's like, I don't even think he has no idea how vile of a person he is being right now. To want people to suffer because they've hurt you. That's exactly what Destiny does. Remember? Like, I didn't know these things about Destiny when I collabed with him. Biggest mistake of my career. I get it. I know it's going to haunt me forever. But like, I didn't know these things, and I learned things every day about that man that I'm like, oh my God. Like, he doxed people, stalked people, found people's phone numbers, called people's homes. Like, I didn't know these men on the internet were so fucking evil until now. And I think I'm always just shocked because I used to think Ethan was somebody who was working on it because it seemed like he was. But see how everyone has a ceiling? So why do people get so defensive being called out? And it's because they haven't deconstructed enough to consider that they might be, and they won't fully accept that they are. Like, they won't fully accept that they're engaging in behavior that is the worst. It's just so bad for people. It's so bad. Like, that's why I say, even though I think Hasan suffers from misogyny, I think Hasan is better than all of these other men because he doesn't do these things. Give me a clip of Hasan stalking, doxing, calling people's homes, going after people's kids. Find me video clips because I will hold Hasan's feet to the fire. That's why when people are like, Brittany's just a Hasan stan. I think Hasan suffers from misogyny so much so that he didn't watch my video on Destiny, but he watched Ryan Beard's. That doesn't mean Hasan is as bad as these other people. He's obviously not. He's obviously trying to hold himself accountable. Now, because everybody fangirls around Hasan, I can see why people think nobody's holding him to the fire, but I am not a daily viewer of Hasan. I don't even consider myself a fan. I just consider myself sort of like, he's a guy on the internet. Sometimes I watch him, sometimes I don't. But like, he's just a dude on the internet, just like everybody else is. That's the problem with YouTubers. Y'all have to remember that we're content creators too. And a lot of us aren't fangirling. We're just calling it out as we see it. Ethan has, in his behavior, always picked the wrong side, has continued to be misogynistic, and honestly, racist in a lot of ways, Islamophobic for fucking sure, right? And that's why I say, like, I want to see Ethan go back to watch his videos and say, like, in which ways he was wrong. I want to see Ethan not double down. I want to see Ethan not engage in evil. In evil in a philosophical sense, right? Like, you are punching down consistently. It's one thing to be a little mean in a video. You are targeting people in the most vulnerable way by going after them legally. Like, and you are allowing them to be painted on the internet so out of context. And Ethan keeps saying, you're doing the same thing to me. You're doing the same thing to me. But you're not even willing to engage in the reality that you're misogynistic. Because that's the difference. Now, if I went to Hasan and said, do you suffer from misogyny? And if he said no, then I'd be like trash. But I highly doubt he would say no. I just don't. I think for what I've seen from Hasan, he'd say, oh yeah, for sure. But if I asked Ethan, do you think you're a misogynist? Do you think you suffer from misogyny? Now, here's the difference. If you're deconstructing actively, you're not a misogynist, but you are a deconstructing. You're deconstructing with misogyny. Ethan is a misogynist because he continues to target women, target people, goes after them. Oh, and this is the comment I wanted to show you. hold on, we're not even done. This is why it's so bad. So on Twitter, Taylor sees that Ethan put, Taylor, it doesn't matter how much hard or how, it doesn't matter how hard you death to America, Hasan, it just isn't into you. So then, and this is the problem. This is what people accused me with Destiny. Destiny and I were never physically intimate. We were never sexually intimate. We were never, ever romantic. I entered Destiny's sphere saying, I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested in your wife. I only want to come here for work. I want to come here for collaboration. I'm looking for YouTubers to talk to. And everybody tried to smear me as somebody who slept with Destiny. And even Destiny on stream said, I've never slept with Brittany Simon. I've never done stuff with Brittany. And like, I'm telling you right now, like, that's not our relationship. And people still refuse to believe that because they were misogynistic. This is exactly the misogyny that's the problem. Oh, you're just mad at Destiny because he didn't sleep with you. I never wanted to sleep with him. I'm mad at Destiny for being a predator. Oh, Taylor, this is from Ethan. Taylor, Hasan just isn't that into you. This is misogyny. Accusing Taylor of only doing what she's doing because she wants Hasan to fuck her is misogyny. That's why we get to say, hey, Ethan, that's misogynistic. This is misogyny. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? Chat, you're getting blocked. Says, why are Arabs so defensive over being called terrorists? You're blocked. Thank you. Don't even fucking come in my chat and try that fucking shit, bro. Why are Arabs so defensive over being called terrorists? Are you fucking dumb? Because the statistical probability of an Arab being a terrorist is not enough for you to stereotype all Arabs as terrorists by default, dummy. Okay, thank you. So here's Ethan being completely fucking misogynistic. So then Taylor says a girl can't even say she hopes to witness the death of Western imperialism anymore without being accused of doing it for a man. Okay? Girl. And then Ethan has the audacity to be like, I'm not a misogynist. Well, what do you call that, Ethan? What do you call that, Ethan? What do you call that? Chet says, I don't know why I'm still shocked at Ethan's actions. It just feels like such an insane departure from someone who seemed like he was trying. Girl, me every day in my kitchen to my partner, like, I can't believe Ethan's doing this. And my partner going, well, he is a man. And I'm like, what? My partner's like, yeah, he's a guy. Like, and I was like, ah! I can't believe it. I can't believe this man gets more evil every fucking day. Oh my God. All right, going back to this video.
That's not a patent troll method. He couldn't do this in any other court. That's why he had to go and get his video copyrighted ahead of time. YouTube just responded on Twitter to calls for people banning him. We really appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Mind reporting the channel and the official reporting tool if you haven't yet. No, this is just this is automated.
This is automated. This is automated.
The chances of him actually succeeding in court are very little. You can file California bar complaints against this lawyer for vexatious litigation, I believe. Yeah, that's just a bot. Open presence, thank you for the 100 get the subs. Look, you know what's really ironic about this? The initial copyright suits that he filed against Frogan, Denims, and Caseytron, some of which are literally in the original work that
did you read it? Did you guys see? And look, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but if you saw what was submitted, it's crazy. And that's the thing that I think is crazy from Ethan's perspective. Like, girl.
He put out there, right, is basically because he doesn't like them and he doesn't like the way that they reacted to the work. Anything else he says about this is bullshit. It is a way to try and silence criticism. And under different circumstances, he would get hit with a he would get hit with an anti-slap, but he can't here because it's on federal courts over copyright. He's using the one most effective method to be able to sue people successfully, which is what patent trolls use. He's basically behaving like a patent troll to stop people from reacting to his videos, and not even to stop people from reacting to his videos, but just to, you know, hurt financially the people that can.
Exactly. It's not about, it's not about, that's why when Ethan, everyone's like, Brittany, this is an ethical issue of ethics. Yeah, Ethan's the bad guy. He's ethically destroying and Hasan goes into it in this video. If you guys want to watch it, I'll link it. It's a fan channel, but I'll go ahead and link the video so you can watch the whole thing on your own, because we're not going to cover the whole thing. But he covers like basically this unsaid rule between YouTubers, which is like, if we have beef, we have beef. We're not supposed to go the legal route unless it's really, really, really dangerous, unless we really, really, really need to. We're supposed to be able to fight online because, you know, that's how you get most of your views. Like, why is Ethan pretending that him covering all of these people isn't the reason his channel has even sustained itself in a big way. We know the audience wants the drama. So I don't know why you're pretending, right? And I made a concerted effort. Remember, and my audience will know. Do you remember how I would barely have, if I ever talked about Destiny, I never had his name in the title, never had his thumbnail in the title. I maybe did it once, I think, when he talked to Dr. K, but like I never wanted to bring attention to the drama because I knew Destiny wanted to fight me. He kept trying to fight me. And I was like, I'm not going to fight you on the internet, dude. And remember when he blew up on me, I said, let's talk about this in private so we can squash the beef and then we can see how if we can come to a consensus. And he was like, no, we have to do this in public because you know it's for the views. And I said, I'm not going to let you use me for views. And then he took that as like me trying to run away when he knows for a fact that's what he was doing. He knows for a fact that's what these content creators are doing. That Ethan knows he can't squash the beef in private because he doesn't want to. He gets high going after people. They get high fighting with people on the internet. There's something in their brains where they love it, and yet it is making them miserable. There's no joy here. There is no joy here. There's only misery. And so when I look at this situation, right? A part of it is just like, so human's gonna human, right? But it is sad in so many ways that Ethan has just crumbled under the pressure. He's obviously activated. He obviously needs therapy, but he's not out of his mind. Do not allow this man and his bad actions to in any way be excused or sympathized with. He is doing this with his full chest. He is attacking women, attacking minorities, punching down on people who definitely don't even make six figures. And if they do, lucky, right? Oh, also, I think I've been missing super chats. Sorry, guys. Let me go through these super chats really fast. Tuxedo Mask. How you doing, boo? Is that a mermaid on your wall? It is a mermaid by, oh my God, Sarah. Essie, what does she go by? Essie Wells or Essie Wall on, I forget, Wands, Essie Wands on Instagram. It's by an artist who actually had me model for this mermaid picture. She's very talented. She's great. And then Deval, thank you for the super chat, says Ethan A loves drama and B is furious at how much mainstream success Hasan is getting. That's why armchair therapist think he is just becoming a bitter old man hating women and minorities. You know, I'll tell you this, and I think this is kind of hard for people. Look, because same thing with Destiny, right? Same thing with Destiny. Same thing. They don't understand why Hasan does so well because they don't understand that, one, he does benefit from pretty privilege. He's more normal than they are. And he's just smarter. Which isn't saying much because they're kind of idiots. You know, it's not like Hasan is that much smarter, but he is smarter. That's it. They just they refuse to engage with the reality that, like, he's better at it than you are. He's more normie than you are. He's the cool guy who watches anime. He's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I mean, look at his little one piece rug in his room, right? Look at his little one piece in his room. But like, there are people who've watched 500 animes from beginning to end. You know, like there are guys who spend their whole life on anime forums. Like, I think that people don't want to accept it. But like, yeah, know your lane. Stay in your fucking lane. Remember when Philip DeFranco, who by the way hasn't covered this yet, and I wonder it's because if he's afraid of Ethan, remember how Ethan kept coming for Phil over and over again? And Phil was like, oh my, and you remember on election night, how Ethan had the audacity to cold call Phil? And then when Phil's audience was like, Zionist, 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 Ethan was baiting him into talking about Zionism. Do you remember? Ethan has no respect for his friends or colleagues. He puts people in his life constantly in risks, like in harm's way, and then wonders why people can't associate with him. I saw another content creator who will remain nameless, who said, I'm really scared about getting into this space because right now there's a person, Ethan, who's going after people for just disagreeing with his views. It makes it kind of scary to like know who to talk about. You know what's even worse? Is can anybody name me a conservative who's gone after people the way Ethan is going after people right now? Does anybody know a conservative? No. Do you know why conservatives are so good at social media? Because they want to fight with you. They want you to make content about them. Ethan is being so disingenuous. He knows for a fact the reason he's as famous as he is the same reason he admitted on that stream. He wants people to talk about him. He wants people to talk about him. Trump doesn't count. YouTubers, I mean content creators. Like, are there content creators who are, no, because that's how they make money. That's why conservatives are so good at getting into everyone's feeds. Why is Charlie Kirk in every video I watch? Because he wants to be. Ethan liked it until people started coming for him. And the fact that he's going for these small content creators is crazy. It's bad for business. It's bad for you. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro aren't striking people's content. As far as I know, they're not going after people the way Ethan is going after people. And that's because we know that to be good, like to be known in the sphere, you want people reacting to your content. And so you become like controversial enough to be reacted to, because that's what people react to is controversy. So Ethan became controversial. He fought with controversial people. He kept inviting Fresh and Fit onto his channel and all these people, right? So why is Ethan so offended at being called a misogynist when he's doing nothing but misogyny? Because he refuses to engage in any deconstruction in regards to this. And I'm telling you right now, this is the key for me when I'm talking to people, whether it's racism or something else, like, hey, can we think about this for a second? And look, I understand the need to be defensive initially because humans are going to human. I'm not saying you're a bad human for being defensive. I'm saying, hey, you should expect yourself to get defensive. You should expect yourself to get defensive, which is one of the reasons my marriage is so good, because when we talk about hard topics and I go, oh, hold on, biological moment, I'm being defensive. Let me think about it. Okay, let's pull it apart. Let's look at it. Let's examine it. Let's put it back together. That's why our marriage is so good. That's why my friendships, the ones that have lasted or the ones that are healthy, are so good. Because instead of getting defensive, we do talk about it. And if you're going to make accusations about friends or family, you also have to bring the data and the receipts. And then you have to actually understand each other. The reason there's tension between anybody in my life is because there is a lack of seeing each other and calling out what we feel like is happening. But you can't always be the one to do all of the emotional labor. Everyone involved has to show up, has to think about it. I have enough brothers to know that not all of them are ready to deconstruct their misogyny. I'm telling you right now, not only do I have misogynistic brothers, but I have brothers that I have told, I love you so much. I love you enough to say you cannot come to my house until you deconstruct the way that you have hurt women. Because at that point, I would be approving of your behavior and I can't approve of this behavior, but I love you so much. And when you're ready, I will be here to help you in any way that is appropriate to deconstruct this. But they're not ready. They're defensive. You know, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I can't believe a bitch is ruining my life. Not even me, the women that they've hurt. They're like, what bitch talked to you? What bitch, what, you know? And I'm like, do you hear yourselves? When I asked you to hold yourself accountable, you went straight to attacking a woman. What did this bitch tell you? What did this bitch tell you? I love my brothers, but they are not exempt. They are not exempt. And I say this, if I'm going to hold my own brothers to the fire, you think I'm not going to hold Ethan Klein or Hasan Piker to the fire? Fuck you. Fuck you for helping your family and friends to bury bodies you should never have ever been engaged with. But you think I'm not going to hold my brothers accountable, let alone some men on the internet? So let me tell you this. If it's happening in our own families, you think it's not happening with our favorite content creators? You think it's not happening with ourselves? And I am saying this to you as a person who is constantly making mistakes. I am telling you this as an imperfect person. I am not here to attack you in a way that should make you feel like you should, God forbid, end your life. Your life is not endable. Your life is only a possibility of getting better. I don't want you to end. I want you to continue to grow. I don't want you to think you're unworthy. I want you to become worthy. I don't want you to think of yourself as an evil person. I want you to examine and accept that all of us engage with evil, and so we have to move more into our joy. You are not so different than anybody else. But for this era of your life, you are engaging in active evil in a way that is so unnecessary because you're hurt, because you're afraid. I want you to be an amazing participant in the community. And it sucks to see people like Destiny and Ethan, who when the group kicks them out, says you can't sit with us anymore. instead of realizing they've been kicked out for the survival of the group, they don't understand why. It's because you're actively harming the group. Isn't that interesting that both Destiny and Ethan, who had childhood trauma, incredibly neglected in many ways, ended up being adults who couldn't form real friendships, came to the internet, and they both mutually friended Hasan and both mutually burned the bridge for the same reason. Hasan called them out on their bad behavior and they both couldn't handle it. And instead of examining or deconstructing or going to therapy, they spent their whole career just attacking Hasan. Girl. Surprised Ethan and Destiny haven't made out yet. Just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, but isn't that amazing that Ethan's like, I'm not like Destiny. I'm not like Destiny. You are. You are. You are exactly like him. You might not have gone as far as him. You might not have broken consent enough to face a felony in Florida. But in this regard, in regard to friendship and internet culture and all this other stuff, yeah. Yeah, you are. The worst people we know are defending Ethan. And that should be enough for Ethan to say, damn, maybe I'm on the wrong side of history. You know, maybe that's it. Now, there is another video that came onto my radar in regards to sort of ownership as a form of misogyny. And I think this is really interesting, where Ethan does this thing where he really wants to defend Gila against all the misogynists on the internet, which we love to see. We love to see him defend Gila's right to express herself as she is on the internet against these men. But it's only as good as that moment. So I'm going to actually draw you a little picture. Let's bring out our paint. Okay. So, we're going to go here again. Okay, right? So this, let's say this is like a goal of like deconstruction. Like this is like, oh my God, ideal deconstruction, right? This is like worst, like bottom, but just like the worst of the worst, racist and bigoted and just like the worst of the worst. Okay. All of us probably start off, generally speaking, like closer to the bad than even close to the good, right? There's no way we're all starting off over here, girl. That's not happening. We're kind of here. Chad says, what does deconstruction look like? Let me answer this. Deconstruction is pulling things apart to examine and understand. Deconstruction is not meant to destroy. It's meant to pull apart and understand. So we're deconstructing to understand, to come to better conclusions, right? Okay. So most of us start off about heresies. And then as we get older, we either stay here. Some of us get worse. This is kind of radicalization. This is where your prejudice leads you to bigotry, right? So some of us go backwards. Some of us go like here and we stop. Some of us go here and we stop. Some of us are hoping to get here. Okay. And where you fall on this line is so dependent for your own personal journey and the tools you were given in your environment. Right. So Ethan, okay, hold on. So Ethan thinks he's like, Ethan probably thinks, where does Ethan probably think he is? I'm assuming Ethan probably thinks he's like here. You know, but Ethan's probably more like here. Okay. Hasan is probably here. And women who have deconstructed in feminism and leftist circles are probably like here to here. AFAB, queer people. But a lot of leftists are actually not as deconstructed as you would hope they were, right? This is why people look at leftists and see the hypocrisy in their bubbles because, like, yeah, they still suffer. Yeah, like women still suffer under patriarchy, like women still uphold the patriarchy. So like not just because you're a woman doesn't mean you've deconstructed, right? It's not about being the label. It's about the consciousness going on the journey. So if you're moving through life thinking you're here and thinking, well, I'm basically there, okay? You're not going to do much work to keep deconstructing. But if you're self-aware enough to know like, no, I still got to keep going, dude. Like I got to keep going. Like I'm probably like here maybe. I'd like to think so at least. Maybe not. Maybe I'm like here, you know, but I'd like to think that I'm here. I would actually think that a majority of, especially queer deconstructionists are probably more here as long as they know like there's no such thing as anything. Like the problem is like when we say there's no such thing as like gender or race or your body, we're talking about the full deconstruction of the existence of life. Like when you start to really process what you are, it's really hard to imagine that any of it really matters, except when you're dealing with other bigoted and prejudiced people. And if this only matters when I'm engaging in prejudice and bigotry, then when does it matter if I'm alone in my house not engaging with those things? Does my body even matter? Does my skin color matter? Does my gender matter? Does the thing that I am matter? And then how do I exist in it? So in my most like perfect sense of being, none of this matters. When I'm engaging with the world though, these things do matter because now I'm showing up and engaging with the world, right? And because minorities have a probability of quicker deconstruction or more likely to seek deconstruction because they don't automatically fit into most scripted bubbles, they run sort of like a probability for deconstructing, but not a guarantee, right? Misogyny is very prevalent in a lot of brown and black communities. So like, we know that this is true. I was raised in a very like, I can see the misogyny here. I can see the problems. I can see the issues. I can see the predatory behavior. Like, I get it, right? So chat says, who defines where the end goal is? There isn't really an end goal. Great question. There isn't really an end goal. There's just like a perception of an end goal that we see until we get there and then we realize it's still not the end. So there's never actually an end goal because when you get to the end, you'll realize there's no such thing as the end. So the end is just, again, a construct we're creating to give ourselves an understanding of what we're aiming towards. Which is kind of interesting. Like, it's a kind of interesting idea to have that realization of, right? Chat says, when someone is on the far end of the deconstruction scale and have perhaps reckoned with the fact that there's nothing real, what does this say about personal identity? Personal identity only exists as a means of understanding the self in relation to the self and others. So personal identity is important. It's vital. Your relationship with self is so important, but it just isn't going to look the way you think it is if you're basing it off the external. So extrospection. So on my level system, as an example, links in the description, it's a work in progress. Okay. When you think of yourself, you're thinking of yourself as internal and external. And who Brittany is internally to herself is different than who Brittany is internally when she examines herself in relation to other people. This goes back to this idea that Ethan doesn't understand why he's not more popular, or maybe Destiny doesn't understand why he's not more popular. And that's because they can't actually understand themselves in relation to other people. They can't understand how they're being examined. They don't understand. And maybe Hasan doesn't even understand. Like, does Hasan understand how much his pretty privilege is doing him a great favor? Do you understand it? I can't emphasize this enough, that pretty people are not only seen as better and more moral, but people are likely to doubt their probability of being bad because they're pretty, right? Like, this is so interesting to me. Just like, wow, human beings think they really are free agents. Like, we really think we have all of this amazing access to free will, but we only have so much access to it. So when I say your defensiveness is normal and natural, I also would encourage you to deconstruct it, because that part of you that's so real exists in all of us. But I promise you can have a better relationship with yourself if you catch yourself and go, oh, I'm getting defensive. Hold on. I'm getting defensive. Hold on. Let me think about it. Because it's normal. Everybody has it. Everybody has the defensiveness, right? And I don't blame it, right? Like, I don't blame people for not realizing like they're having sort of a biological reality and relationship to self. And the coolest thing about our evolution is it allows us to have a deeper relationship with that biological experience. But you can't escape that you're having a biological experience, right? Chad says, you know the historical significance of that? Yes, it used to be theorized that the way you look on the outside matches the inside. That's why disabled people were feared and mocked. Well, and there's what's her name? Blue hair lesbian. She made a whole video on this about like, yeah, the reason you get treated differently, the perks of it, the privilege of it, but also the disadvantage of that privilege comes with the objectification. So objectification occurs whether you're really, quote, disfigured or really, quote, not disfigured. Like, that's the irony, is like, it's all objectification at the end. Objectifying Hasan is still objectification. And when we say everything is socially constructed, we don't mean that you're not having a biological experience. It's to say that you could have a deeper relationship with your biological experience if you recognize that you only think this is correct because of your default settings. It's not necessarily correct. It's just your default settings. And the default settings is an illusion. Even default settings are an illusion of what we think they mean. We create the meaning around default settings and we say, well, that's just the default settings. But that's not true. The default settings aren't like women are meant to stay home and men are meant to have jobs. Like, that's not our default setting. But that's how people create a relationship with what they think is a default setting. Right? Chet says, I do appreciate that Hasan talks about how objectifying him is different than objectifying women because of his other privileges. I think it's only slightly different, but I don't think it's that different. I block all thirst trap creators of Hasan. I block thirst traps in general. Like, I don't really like them unless it's for girls. Like, it's only different, but it's not different from the person doing it. Women, people who create fan fiction over boys on the internet and have them having sex with each other, it's objectification. Right? So you as the person, it's not different for you, but it's different for maybe how the world interacts with it. Right? But like, it's not different for you. And we do a lot of personal work here. Right? So it's still gross. Like, I personally think it's still gross to create content that makes you think like, oh, if I only had 5 minutes with him. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean if you only had 5 minutes with him? Ew. Right? So for your self's sake, for just you as a person, do you really want to be the person who says, oh, if I could only have 5 minutes with him? You do you, girls. You do you. Okay, now, this led me to a TikTok of a larger celebrity. So we're hopping out of the YouTube bubble into something greater. And this TikTok came on my feed, and I thought it was like a really interesting complementary story to the stuff that we're talking about today, which is this idea of calling out our communities, well, asking ourselves, like, why is this the reaction we're having? And this comes down to the objectification. And because YouTubers are consumable, they're objects. Because entertainers are consumable, they're objects, right? Because we're dealing with human beings being the way they are, we create a narrative around objectification that tells us this is for their empowerment or this is for my empowerment, but we still have to deconstruct our ideas around empowerment and what that means. So when we're having conversations like this, it really is impacting real people, but you're also the real people it's impacting, right? You're also the real people that are being impacted. So I want you to remember this is for you. The content I'm making is, I hope I improve your life, right? So look at this in relation to Emma Chamberlain, who used to be a content creator, and her audience has gone in and out with her, primarily a female audience, right? We're using very binary terms for the sake of this conversation, but generally people who strike female on their analytics or on their YouTube channel or whatever, they follow Emma. And, you know, people have been like, I don't like her. She's like a pick me now. She's too rich now. She's too this now. Because even women run the risk, because they're humans, because see how being a woman doesn't matter? Hear me when I say this. See how being a man or a woman doesn't matter, but being a person does? All people suffer from the objectification and consuming action of other people, right? So look at this video.
One way that you can clearly tell that beauty standards are fucked for women is the response to Emma Chamberlain's pixie cut. Like, everyone is like, bring back Emma Chamberlain, bring her back. Like, girl, she got a pixie cut. Like, she's still there. She's still attractive. She's still a beautiful woman. Like, sorry, she doesn't impersonate a 12-year-old anymore, but.
Okay, and I was like, what is this about? Like, what could this be about?
Why I did it, and the reason why I chopped it all off was because, honestly, well, I wanted to change. I was kind of sick of like long hair. I've had it my whole life, but also it's so much easier to have short hair. I wake up and my hair is just done.
Okay, she looks so good. I have to mute this one because of copyright. She looks so fucking Halle Berry good that I was like, I'm about to chop off all my hair. Like, she looks so fucking good. And if my hair was straight, I would so do this. She looks so fucking good. But, and I've been experimenting, you guys know, with my look and the way that I show up on the internet and the way that I exist on the internet. And I have been like paying attention to how I exist and how people consume me. I'll tell you this right now, my Instagram posts of just my face get less likes than the Instagram posts with my full body. And I have a majority of women following me. And I know it. You know it. It doesn't matter your gender. What matters is that we're human beings. And for whatever reason, whether you're living vicariously through somebody or this is just like something you don't even know is happening, I literally get less interactions when I just post my face than when I post my full body. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying, do you know that you're doing this? Do we know that we're doing this? And that's the thing. It's not about gender. It is about something even more than that. Now, that's not to say we should default to, well, that's just how humans are. The question is why? Why? Now, maybe this is my autistic brain, but I like every post from the people that I like. I like it all the time. And I've experimented with this for a few years. So now I have like good data to tell me, regardless of if I have a primarily female or male audience, they like my body and they want to see my body. And I would be more famous if I showed more of my body, even if I had a girl audience. Isn't that interesting? Now, I think the way the women react to my posts are better and healthier, and I do like them. I do like the comments I get on my videos, generally speaking, over the comments I would get if I had a male audience. Because I know the few men who do comment on my videos, or on my Instagram posts, there's only like one or two that leave comments where I like roll my eyes and I'm like, but most of them are fine. And I think it's because of the culture I've curated here. I really do. I think it's the culture that I've curated here that has allowed me to create content that encourages men to deconstruct, which means like they're nice. You know, they're nice comments, generally speaking, but I think they'd be different if it was like all love, you know, all love. I also think I like everything a content creator puts out because I know it helps them. Like I literally know it helps them, and anything I can do for free to help a content creator, I want to do that. It's probably because I am a content creator, but yeah, I know for a fact that like every single like helps. Every single thing helps, right? Every comment helps, right? What do you guys think so far? Okay. I want to now open it to you guys. I want your thoughts. I want your criticisms. What do we think? Anything I said that was like bullshit? Anything I said that like you agree with? Where are we at? And this goes down to even Ariana Grande. When people are like, oh my God, I miss this Ariana. I miss this Ariana. Yeah, you can say that, but isn't that also just like not fair to Ariana? Now, when I say I miss Ethan Klein, I'm saying I miss the guy who is like kinder and compassionate and thoughtful and open-minded. I'm not saying I miss a physical difference of Ethan Klein. I'm not saying I miss Ethan Klein when his ponytail was up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's different, right? Chaz says, do we draw a distinction between the word sexist and misogynist? Yeah. Yes, I would say the misogynist is more deeply rooted in a belief that women and men are born differently and women are born inherently inferior, versus sexism can exist even if you're not a misogynist. I think you can be sexist when you're not a misogynist. What do you guys think? You know? What do you guys think? You snapped here, Britt. Please post a clip. Well, this is the clip, girl. This live stream is the clip. That's why I do themed out live streams, so I don't have to clip, because genuinely, I think you should watch the whole thing. Like, I really don't think I'm clippable all the time, because I think when we're talking about these really difficult discussions, I think you should watch the context. Because if you don't watch the context, you're just doing the same thing everybody else does, reacting to a partial context. So I'm hoping that this stream is just rightly timed, that most people will watch it. But then the point is like, if you're not going to watch it, then like, you're also just like, what am I going to do? Right. So, you know, hopefully this is good enough. When Avril Lavigne went more poppy, I do miss old Avril. Are you saying you miss but okay. What we're saying when we say these things is we're telling about ourselves. We're not, that's why I think it's important to know you're saying it about yourself. But the problem is when you say this, it comes with the judgment that this person is now bad. And I wish they were the person that they used to be, which could be a part of the comment. But I want people to know, like, as long as they're happy, I'm happy for them, because they're not here to make content for me. They're here to make content for them and their brand and their label. But if I no longer like them, that's okay. I just go back and watch old Avril. Like, I love old Avril. I still listen to old Avril. I'm not listening to new Avril, but that's okay. It's not for me. It's not always about you. But see how these comments are about you? And that's okay, as long as you know that's what it is. I think the dilemma is that we're using it and thinking like people won't see it to some extent, or that people won't feel a way about it. I think we just sometimes mistake who is it for. Like, sometimes on my stream, I really wish I could separate the fact that I just want to talk to you guys. And maybe that's what the Discord is for. But I want to be able to talk to you guys without the original content creators feeling like it's about them, even though they might see it and internalize that it's about them. It's just about the version of you that's showing up. But I recognize that that person is much more nuanced and complex than just the person that's showing up. But right now, we're judging you based off of this data, right? Chet says, we're a liberal man who has never really displayed sexist tendencies. When they feel rejected or triggered, all of a sudden they go completely ham on the misogyny. And you know what's so interesting is, like, that's the other thing, when men are like, oh, I'm not misogynistic or anything. But then when put into a position where they don't get their way, they turn to misogyny as the default, or sexism as the default. Yeah. Chat says, I don't use Instagram, but I will say for me at a glance, I assume the full body pics require more effort and less casual and simple than a selfie. Interesting. Yeah, the pictures, like, I just recently posted 2 face photos on my Instagram, and they got way less likes than the full body pictures, but no, I don't usually take selfies. I like rarely take selfies. Most of them are standing camera, like posing, editing. Most of them are like photos for Instagram. I don't just like post a selfie, but they seem to do the same. Actually, my selfie where I was around Europe, because my sister was in town, got a lot of likes, because I think it probably was people seeing me in public. Like, sometimes I think the public ones get more likes too if I'm outside my house. People like it because I'm like actually out and about. Again, I'm not judging anybody for what they like. I'm just pointing out that there's a pattern. You know what I mean? Chat said a life without Instagram is a life with peace. Where do you get your memes from, though? I love Instagram. I don't know why non-public figures post on Instagram. If they have public or private, that's different. But like, as a public figure who has an Instagram, it is the new LinkedIn. That's how people collab with you. So if you're a public figure, get an Instagram, because that's how people reach out to you. People with no followers sometimes are executives. People with no followers are sometimes the guys making your Netflix shows, and they hit you up on Insta. That's like a fact. So you might want to get an Instagram if you're a public figure, but it might not be, you might not get chosen because your Instagram is popping. You might, like, I've gotten DMs through my Instagram, not because my Instagram is popping, but because that's how they message me. That's how people message me. That's just like that's the one they want to use, right? Let's see. Chat says it feels more wild to assert that you've never laughed at a problematic joke than to say sometimes misogyny is funny. Yeah, I think like that's the thing too, is like, I really do think like sometimes people will say, oh, just like speak like yourself, And I'm like, that person doesn't exist. You know that, right? The people who are like, oh my God, you're the same in private that you are in public. That's not a real thing. It's only a real thing if you're not masking, if you aren't autistic, if you aren't doing like social cues. Like, I can't be my same exact self that I am in private and public because I switch too much on people. Like, as an autistic person, this does not sound like advice that's for me. When people are like the people might say, oh, like Brittany's kind of always the same. That is true. I get that feedback, but I'm obviously censoring myself in the same way that I'm censoring myself on stream right now. Like, this is very autistic, literal thinking, but in private, I don't censor my family's names as an example. Why do I censor them online? Because I'm online. So when people say like, oh, just like be like yourself, do you not understand that the fact that I have to censor the fact that I have family because I'm afraid the internet will stalk and harass them means I am not in a safe space? Like, people don't get it. Like, they don't get it that this is not a safe space. Not to quote problematic Trisha Paytas, but like, this might be a safe space, but the internet is not a safe space. You know, the internet is not a safe space. Especially with, you know, let alone creepers in the comments stalking you, Ethan Klein and big content creators coming for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what's even crazier. Is like even past content creators coming for you. Like, you are not past content creators, even content creators coming for you. You know, that's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Any thoughts here? Any comments I've missed? Chat says, I've heard too many stories where men pursue women, get rejected, and then the same thing. Men call them ugly and no man wants you anyway. What's the psychology behind that? Insecurity and fear, right? Insecurity and fear. It's the rejection sensitivity. It's the fact that you don't know what's happening with their mental health. Like, this happens with a lot of even neurodivergents where they're really rejective, like reject sensitive. And so when they get rejected, they feel like it's the core of them getting rejected. A lot of men will say this. They'll say like, hey, when I get rejected, it feels like you're rejecting me as the consciousness. And they'll say, what's the difference? Okay, I'll give you an example. Somebody in my comments was saying, Brittany, you just said that they are trying to keep money out of Ethan's pocket, so they're watching his content on stream. That's exactly the same thing as them stealing from him. It's not the same thing though. You think it's the same thing, but it's not literally the same thing, because they are not trying to steal money from Ethan. They're trying to keep money from Ethan. Stealing money from Ethan would be money he's already earned. Keeping money from Ethan is taking that money that's heading his way and turning it into a different bank account, which is different. They're not stealing money Ethan's made. They're encouraging their viewers to not spend the money on Ethan at all. Very different. And the fact that people don't know that difference is what's interesting about people. We don't know the difference. So when men are rejected by women, they don't know the difference between, and a lot of people don't know that, even women don't know the difference between I'm rejecting my relationship with you. I'm not necessarily rejecting you, even though it does feel like I'm rejecting you, and maybe I am. I'm rejecting us as a couple. When I reject somebody as a partnership, I'm rejecting us as a unit. And they'll say, why? What's wrong with me? It's more like, what's wrong with us if we're a couple? It's more like, what's wrong with us as a couple? But people see it as like, I'm rejecting you. And that's why when people have a breakup, or, you know, like the wizard Liz is going through right now, people are like, he's a loser, he's a rat, he's ugly, I don't even know why you liked him. Well, you know, that's one way to feel empowered during a breakup. The other way is just to acknowledge that though you feel those things and should be expressed in private and, you know, with your friends, the realistic part of it is that just like you guys were bad partners together. You didn't even have the same values. You know what I mean? So again, it's not about gender, but it is about that gender is stereotyped and raised differently. So why are men so dangerous when they are rejected? Because they have been given the green light to act a fool when rejected. Women are not given that green light, though in some bubbles, going crazy and keying a car is accepted. What was that Carrie Underwood song? She has a whole song about keying a guy's car and blowing up the car. That is the type of rejection insanity women are allowed to have. But this is not a typical bubble. This is not okay. This is not okay. Before he cheats, thank you. So that's gross. Love the song. Gross though. Like lyrics gross. Idea gross. Okay. And then on the other hand, men are given more of the green light universally to be like slut, bitch, whore. Like, keep in mind when women are rejected in a particular way, even that song is he cheated. So he was abusive. So her reaction to keying his car is she was abused. A man's rejection is because she said no to a date. Right? So the idea is like, what is the circumstance? How do we feel about the circumstance? And what's okay? Right? Chet says right now you're probably buying her some fruity little drinks because she can't shoot her whiskey. Yeah, misogyny right there too. Misogyny in the lyrics, right? Making fun of a woman, saying she can't even hold her liquor like I can. Pick me. That's pick me behavior. Pick me behavior is making fun of a woman for not being able to handle her alcohol like I can, because real men handle their alcohol. And if I'm a woman who can handle her alcohol, I'm a man. What did Barney Stinson say to Robin? You're like a man, but with boobs. She likes whiskey and cigars. She's like a man, but with boobs. Still misogyny, right? Oh my God, you're so cool as a girl. You're like a man. Wow, I really like women who are like men because men are superior. Wow, I really like this woman. She's funny like a man. You know? Chet says, are you saying men are directly aggressive and women are indirectly aggressive? I am not saying anything about men and women in a general sense, but if I was to generalize, I would say depends on the culture. But I would say women are trained under patriarchy to be indirect and men are trained under patriarchy to be direct. Because men, their masculinity is under threat if they can't actively peacock, right? Men are trained to peacock and women are trained to be reserved. Men and women are literally trained this way. They are not, this is not their biological predisposition, right? They are literally default trained to be this way. So yeah, I would say that this is the default with under patriarchy, because under patriarchy, demure and like subtle is feminine, therefore woman. Abrupt, aggressive, in your face, manly, therefore masculine. This is the patriarchal construct. This is the patriarchy. This is the patriarchy. Chat says, are they? I don't think so. I think if a man takes rejection badly, people say, good on you, girl, you dodged a bullet. That guy was just pretending to be good. I don't know what that's in reference to, but yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? Like, it's easy to be a good person when the world doesn't tempt you. It's easy to feel like a good person when you're not put in a position to be tempted to be a bad one. You know what I mean? Everyone gets to say they're a good person if they've never been tempted. Which is why some people don't even want to be tempted because they know that we'd fail. Right? I think that's part of the problem. I'm just reading chat. I'm reading chat. Chet says, I've seen women get mad after a handsome man rejects them and full on calls them a piece of shit and F word and got a small dick. All of those are patriarchal insults. Why would women go for men's dick if the patriarchy didn't train them to think big dicks mean more masculine? So when a woman calls a man, like says like, oh, your dick must be small, that's patriarchy. That's misogyny. Because men have made it so the bigger the dick, the more dominant. So men trained women to insult them the way they would feel insulted. Why does it matter if you have a small dick? I guarantee you most of the people I know don't care what penis size their partner has or doesn't care about their vagina. But trained under patriarchy, sex is such a commodity in a sense. It's such a status symbol that like your virginity, how much you've been touched, all of this is patriarchal language. All of this is patriarchy. Women call you gay because they know you're going to be upset being called a woman. You know what I mean? Like women call you gay because they have internalized misogyny. They're bigoted, right? It's bigotry. You know, so it's, yeah, like that's bad. But that's why women uphold the patriarchy. And that's why women have to deconstruct as well. Right? Chat and Discord said, Brittany, to be honest, how many New Yorkers are you listening to right now? I noticed you say, what are you talking about in a New York accent? Honestly, bro, I am mimicking content creators. What are you talking about? Like, I am mimicking. I am 100% mimicking content creators when I say it. It's so bad. I hear them say it this way. And then when I say that sentence, I say it just like they say it. I'm watching the New Yorkers. I'm watching the little East Coasters. I am. Thank you, Discord. It's true. It is. Chat says that's one of your most common phrases. I know, girl. I hear one content creator say it like that, and now I got to say it all the time like that. It's true. It's true. 100. Okay. Thoughts, comments, questions. Chat said I was talking to a friend yesterday about how most men's ideas of an attractive man is what they want to experience with each other more than what women are experiencing with them. I think that also is confusing for so many people. And women fall into this. Like, I know a lot of women that are like, oh, he's too feminine. I want a partner that I can feel small around. Are you saying you can't feel small around a feminine person? You've never been a bottom to a very femme woman? Masculinity and femininity go together. Like, you can be a feminine person who's masculine. Do you know what I mean? One time I was in the dungeon and I was bottoming for this woman who's like very feminine, curvy, big breasts, red hair, very feminine, very dominant, very masculine in her energy, not in her physical expression, not in her physical costume, very feminine, but very masculine. And she was topping. She was literally flogging somebody. And I was on the outside of the scene watching the scene. And a man comes up to me and says, hey, do you know this woman? And I said, yeah, I know her. And he said, do you know if she is available to bottom for me? And I said, oh, she's a dom. She doesn't bottom. And he said, yeah, she's a dom right now, but like, when is she available to bottom? And I said, she doesn't bottom. She's only a dom. She only tops or doms. She is not a bottom. And he's like, are you sure? Because she looks like a bottom. And I said, just because she got a bottom doesn't mean she is a bottom. Okay. But he saw her feminine exterior. He saw her silhouette and he didn't understand. This is Roger Rabbit's wife, girl. Okay. This is Jessica Rabbit. Jessica Rabbit is not a bottom. Jessica Rabbit is not a bottom. So she might see how men want a bottom. See how men want Jessica Rabbit to bottom for them? Jessica Rabbit is not a bottom. Back off. And that's the thing. Men see Jessica Rabbit and they either want to be topped by her or they want her to bottom. They want to break Jessica Rabbit. Don't you mess with Jessica. Okay? And that's the thing that people see. That's the thing they have to deconstruct. Why did he at a dungeon that was progressive struggle to imagine this woman wasn't a bottom? Because he hadn't deconstructed. Crazy. That's crazy to me, you know? Chet said I'm a femme, non-binary lesbian, and I've been called intimidating, aggressive, and masculine, cold. And I'm like, guys, I'm a baby. What are you seeing? I'm just a baby. I'm just a baby. Love it. Chad said I was thinking pansexuality or bisexuality is inherently more or less open is the problem, not the sexualities in and of themselves, possibly just someone watching, commenting in on the convo. And I would say that so much of this conversation is centered around a lot of, yeah, so hold on. I think I'm think that thinking pansexual bisexual is inherently more or less open is the problem, not the sexualities in and of themselves. What is this in relation to? Because I think I lost what this is in relation to. Chad says the extremes of socially constructed masculinity, femininity aren't the most attractive to people. They are meant to be they're meant to attract. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. It's pretty ironic, honestly. That's what I'm saying. Like, how was I raised in it's a convo in chat. Oh, thank you. Okay, I was lost. This is what I'm saying. How did my father raise me as a boy? Okay. How did my father raise me wanting to run a business? And then my father turns around and says, you know, when are you going to quit your job and have a baby? And I'm like, you literally told me you raised me as a boy. That's what my dad said when I came out as gay. He's like, oh my God, is this because I raised you as a boy? And I was like, well, that's misogynistic. I thought you were just raising me to run a business, but okay. And then it was like, how are you going to sit here and tell me I should run my own business and then tell me, hey, when are you going to quit and have babies? And they might even say, well, don't quit fully, but quit enough to have babies. And I'm like, what are you doing? And that's because they haven't deconstructed this idea that women are happiest when they have babies. Like my mom will always say, you'll never be happier than when you have kids. And I'm like, that's okay to think that. It's not okay to think it. It makes sense why you think it, but you should deconstruct that. But they can't because they were so much happier because they had kids. So they think you're just going to be happier if you have these kids. Do you know what I mean? And that's, it is what it is. Even our loved ones have problems. That's why I think it's obnoxious for Ethan Klein to sit here and say, I'm not a misogynist. All men suffer from misogyny under patriarchy. You must deconstruct. I will say my partner isn't a misogynist because they've worked on deconstructing. I am not a misogynist. I've worked on deconstructing. That does not mean we don't suffer from misogyny, in which we have to call it out and say like, oh, I think that was misogynistic. So you can get to the point in which you are not a misogynist, but you've got to get to that point first. And it is in some ways you could argue Ethan has gotten, girls, hold up. Has Ethan, my bad. Has Ethan actually done himself a disservice? Because Ethan started here and he went down the pipeline of actually becoming more misogynistic. Because he let his prejudice make him into a bigot, he actually went backwards. And so he's looking at Hasan like, hey, what the fuck are you doing over there? You think you're better than me? But it's like, actually, Hasan is literally, by definition, better than you because he's closer to the deconstruction. So Ethan went backwards. And then the worst people live here. And they're like, yes, Ethan, yes, you're doing great. And he's like, look, people who like me, people that are praising me, people that are agreeing with me. He's like, I want to be over here, but they disagree with me. So I'm going to go back here where people agree with me. Damn. Yeah. It happens. It really does happen. It happens. It is what it is, right? What are you going to do? Chat says, Brittany, Ethan is friends with Dan Saltman. There's a Discord that exists that unironically of victims of bad empanada support group. We know some of the people in there. Yeah, okay, P.S. I also don't want to get involved in any of these communities because I did have certain Reddits reach out to me and I ignored DMs because, I don't want to get involved with any of you. With peace and love. Please do not DM me. I'm not interested. I don't need to be a part of this. I'm just here to observe it. I am an observer. So, I do not want to get into it because, again, no offense, I'm trying to grow out of this. I really am trying to grow out of it. I'm not trying to get involved. You know what I mean? I just think too many people here are unhealed in general, and I don't want to be dragged down, but I do want to observe it. So in the future, I'm not going to answer your DMs. That's why I say don't DM me. I'm not going to answer it. I'm just making an observation, but I'm not going to answer the DMs. Okay? Chet said, I'm not saying get involved. I'm just saying there's a network there and a social bubble that is influencing Ethan. I mean, of course, right? Of course he's being influenced, but that's the thing is the worst people he knows, the worst people we know, he's being influenced by. Ethan, listen, it's me, Papa Jordan. Ethan, listen, these Machiavellian mothers, okay? We get it. You want to embrace the reality of the world suffering without men? What are we going to do without all these men? Ethan, you're one of those good men. We need you. Ethan, don't let women wear rouge because it stimulates orgasm. Ethan, you're not a misogynist. You're just a hurt little boy that needs to be coddled by his mother's breasts. Ethan, you're not a misogynist. You're suffering under the wave of feminism. These third wave feminists, they're corrupting everything. They're destroying men. These men. Oh, anyways, hey, what are you gonna do? Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's like the people that mispronoun people because they think they're fighting for women. You're not fighting for women by being anti-trans, but thanks. I know you think you are. But you're not. You are not helping women by being anti-trans. But I know you think you are. I really believe in your heart. I know that you really think you are, but you're not. You're hurting all of us. You're hurting women. You're hurting people who show up in the world and are treated as women even when they're not. And I need you to process that. that anytime you are anti-trans, you are definitely hurting everybody, because nobody gets to live, nobody outside the binary gets to be free as long as you're only adhering to the binary. As long as you maintain the binary structure, everybody else suffers. Let's bring out the paint one last time before I leave, guys, because I am going to leave. I have to make content for you because, you know, I'm a working girly. Thank you. Okay. Binaries. Okay. Whether it's gay and straight, wow, that's a bad G. Whether it's gay or straight or male and female. Okay. The binaries. Okay. This is it. This is the binary. What about the fucking rest of us? You fucking cunts. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Bad word. Bad word. I'm going to get demonetized. What about the rest of us? You are so obnoxious thinking you guys are not literally on this side of the scale. You cannot represent all of us. You fucking losers. Okay? Your fucking loser behavior. The world revolves around this. This is it. This is the whole world. What about the fucking rest of us? I know, that's streamer language. That's streamer language. Oh, you know what I mean? That's the problem. What about the fucking rest of us? Losers. Okay, anyways, with that said, thank you for coming to my live stream. I'm gonna go tackle a patriarchal bubble called the Mormon Wives. If you guys haven't seen me review season 1, go watch that playlist. I'm gonna go keep recording season 2 because, girls, I'm 1 episode in and I'm already pissed. I'm already pissed. I'm 1 episode in and I'm already screaming at the patriarchy of it all, okay? Okay? Discord, one last question, says the difference between misogyny and sexism. Would you say the hate for the feminine men is misogynistic because it's patriarchal, but sexist towards men? The difference between misogyny and sexism, would you say the hate for feminine men is misogynistic because it's patriarchal, but sexist towards men? Yes. Ooh. Because it's denying men a right to exist the way they want to, because the sexism makes them feel men have to perform a certain way, which, though connected to patriarchy, is also inherently sexist. Like, if you call a man an F word because he's dressing feminine, not only is that sexist, or thinking men can't perform in a particular way because they're men, that's sexist, but it's misogynistically tied to the root. It's like, oh, look, I'm never going to fucking leave this live stream because you guys are all too great. Hold on. You guys are all too great. You're all fantastic. Everything is built off misogyny and patriarchy. And everything that comes, sexism is the child of misogyny and patriarchy. Okay? Sexism is a symptom of the system. I feel like misogyny and patriarchy is the foundation that is built off of, because it's the systems we adhere to, right? These are the systems we are the slaves to. Now, if we got rid of patriarchy and misogyny, what would be the foundation of our beliefs and how we would raise our kids? Like, how would we raise our kids if we didn't rely on patriarchy? We would raise our kids not in a monarchy, or not a matriarchy, not a matriarchy. That's not helpful. We'd raise our kids in sort of like a gender neutral space, which means that we might end up still dealing with, of course, racism, right? In a form of bigotry, because racism exists in all genders. But maybe the gender racism or gender bigotry would show up as like an issue with non-binary or like trans people who get surgery or don't get surgery, right? It's like we have a problem where we forget that we are biological creatures, evolved animals over time, and everything is actually foundationed off of that. And so you have to deconstruct the fact that you're an animal on a planet, which we can't do because some people believe in gods and all different kinds of gods, and these gods all fucking hate each other. And all of them are mostly patriarchal. Not all of them, but like mostly, right? Or at least the big ones in the West. Okay? So that's the question, is like when we're talking about these, you know, relationships to self, they're always in relationship to something. Who is Brittany when she's alone? And who is Brittany when she's interacting with the world? See how they're two different X's? Because they're two different Brittany's. The Brittany that's alone also seems to be the Brittany who gets to interact with her partner somehow, which is why I married that person. Because when I'm with this person, I get to be this Brittany. The reason this Brittany can't exist when Brittany hangs out with her friends is because it seems like this Brittany is the one who shows up with everybody else. And that's okay. Because all of those people also seem to show up as someone else when they're with me than when they're alone, which is why they say, hey, I need my alone time. I need to be alone right now. With my partner, the only time I need to be alone for my partner is when I need to do an activity that literally they can't engage with, like edit videos or work. But I'm still somehow this Brittany, whether I'm with my partner or alone with my partner. But when I'm with my friends, as an example, my sister came to see me and I genuinely, oops, hello, Brittany. Ooh, I couldn't just be the Brittany. I was Brittany, her sister. Like when my sister or family members come to visit, I'm not just Brittany. I'm not Brittany the streamer. I'm Brittany the sister. I'm Brittany the family member. I'm Brittany they grew up with. Like my sister and I were talking about stuff and she was like, well, remember when you said this thing 5 years ago? And I said, pause. Whatever I said 5 years ago doesn't count. And she said, okay, but like I'm still thinking about it. And I said, that's so valid. But that person doesn't exist anymore. So I will apologize for that person's actions, but I'm going to need you to update the version of me in your head because I've changed. And that's normal. We have to remind our family members to update who we are because they're different too. And I said, can you tell me how you've changed? I haven't seen you in 2 years. What's new? Because even though we talk all the time, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. I have changed. I need you to tell me who you are now. I need you to tell me how you've changed so I can update who you are, because this obnoxiousness our families have of being like, you're my daughter. I know you, even if you change. No. Oh, you're my sibling. I know you. Like, I know your consciousness. I know you so deeply. And yet I do not know the updated version of you. Like my brother who thought I still like to debate, even though it's been years since I debated. I was like, I don't debate people. He's like, but that's like who you are. No, that's who I was. That's who I was. You know? Chat said, I've always wondered what you mean when you say God, because the concept as you describe it sounds ridiculous, but the idea of a higher order creator being doesn't seem logically outrageous. Because we as humans created lower order beings all the time. I've always wondered what you mean by when you say God, because the concept as you describe it sounds ridiculous. The only thing I can say to that is usually when I reference God, I'm referencing Western philosophical ideas around God. I'm referencing Abrahamic gods. I'm usually referencing patriarchal gods. That's usually who I'm referencing because that's the dominant culture in the bubble I was raised in. That's the only God I'm educated about. I'm not educated about like other gods. I'm only really educated about those gods. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. La Bible. Exactly, chat. La Bible. La Abraham, you know? Chet says that does help a lot. Thank you. No problem. Thank you for asking. Discord said, break. Queer ultimatum is going to blow your mind. Ooh, I'm getting ready. Ooh, girl, I'm getting ready. Okay. I'm getting ready. Chet says, what time zone is Brittany in? I think we're in CST. I'm in CET. I'm in Croatia. So it's 5:41 p.m., which I gotta go. I gotta go so I can record content for you guys and get them up. Thank you for watching. Like the stream. And if you don't, you're a misogynist. Shout out to Ethan Klein getting better and going to therapy. I'm not going to hold my breath, of course, because I'm not going to die for a man. And shout out to everybody that he's attacking. I hope you guys get justice because there definitely is an injustice being done here. All right. See you guys tomorrow. No. See you guys Sunday for Discord event and see you guys Monday for stream.